I really need to go check those numbers because I feel like I'm going to be learning some facts about these maps. I still feel like this is bigger, and I'm kind of like being told by people who actually check the numbers it's not further across the map, but part of me says yes it is. So I'm not really exactly sure, but nonetheless, that's a tech lab on the barracks and a factory going down. I mean, you could build Marauders, but it's only one barracks Marauder, so it's not a crazy commitment. Do you think maybe just rally a few Hellions and join that up?
Yeah, join in and just get a little bit of early game, like anti-light unit. Oh, splash damage in. I mean, you got your Marauder here to bust down potential walls. You got Concussive to be able to tag and bag any of the early game units of Seither, like Reapers hopefully won't be able to escape if a Hellion does join up. The factory is about to finish. A Hellion could start here, and if RazerBlader waits for a second Marauder, I mean, we could see Hellions actually get across the map here. It doesn't take that long for them to get across, but it is still a rush distance. Like it's, if not biggest, then it is third biggest according to ZG. So, yeah. All right, here comes the attack.
Marauders coming forwards. I mean, this is just 2 Marauders. This is not a crazy commitment just yet, but it does need to do something. Going to be coming up that ramp. Seither, he's got 2 Reapers. He's got to pull the SCVs to help buffer. Cancel, starts up a Marine. Immediately, a grenade there forces those Marauders back to the low ground. Now, yeah, if they try to push up that ramp, you can see the SCVs are ready to surround them. Seither defending the ramp quite well so far, but a third Marauder coming up and a Hellion rallying across the map. Behind that, an expansion going down and a Cyclone. The barracks is floating over Maynard, and that's really good. I like RazerBlader not overcommitting. He's already forced a lot of mining time being lost. He's going to look to pick off that depot as well from the low ground.
That is indeed the plan here, and the Hellion is going across the map. See, the Reaper of Seither isn't going across the map for a punish or a slow down the expansion of RazerBlader. He's actually just keeping that at home because he is worried about being busted, and rightfully so.
Oh, nice. Quick pullback there by Seither. Hasn't got any of his units tagged and taken down just yet, and starts up a Cyclone before the supply block hits. Nice timing there by Seither. Does lose one of his Reapers here. The move up the ramp, very ambitious for RazerBlader. Seither's Hellion getting very low. His Hellion goes down. That Marine on the back does do a bit of damage, but the Marauders focus it down. Trying to focus down a few SCVs now as well for their trouble, but quickly pulled back to the high ground there, and Seither, no critical losses just yet. He's holding on quite healthily.
Is indeed. Yeah, holding on quite strong, and, you know, does have the, the quicker command center, which is an orbital already. That's something that RazerBlader will have to wait for. So even though it's not on location, not going to take long for Seither to start mining efficiently from that base once the workers get down there. And he floats that on over as he loads up the medevac for a counter, a poke to RazerBlader. See how much Seither can get done as he transfers these workers down.
I like the bravery to load up every single unit and send them across the map. There is literally nothing at home for Seither. If those Marauders randomly turned around and came back in, they'd have a bit of a party. But he knows that there's such an unlikely chance of that. He knows his opponent has to go home and worry about counter-aggression on his side. There are 2 Cyclones out. One is up in that main base. Seither's got to be careful with this.
He is going deep here with that medevac, which does cop a lock-on, but his own Cyclone unloads, and he does break that lock-on with the range of the medevac. Now he's in range of the SCVs. 3 Marauders coming in with 2 Cyclones. Looks like too much firepower for RazerBlader.
Good micro, though. Pulls back, gets a bit of information, sees the starport with the tech lab just building Ravens, building his own Ravens at home, and there is a nice worker advantage. Seither is up in that economy. He's got the 3rd command center now starting up, and I'm looking around and saying, well, RazerBlader did float his barracks home, so he's got a 1 barracks advantage. However, that worker difference, that command center difference, definitely something any Terran player feels way more confident in Seither's shoes.
Certainly. With the 3rd CC up, Seither is going to be shooting further and further ahead with that economy as the Reaper goes through the middle of the map here. He's going to see what he can see, basically see what RazerBlader is up to. Reaper doesn't really have much utility apart from being a scouting unit at this point. So let's see what's happening in RazerBladerville. Comes on up, sees the 3rd CC, so that's good information.
Yeah, Cyclone Raven in position though.
Ooh,
no, it's always a good feeling that, right? You know, okay, my command center is about 40 seconds ahead or so. I've got a big lead on that. Let's just follow that normal game plan. There are a couple of Ravens out. Is going to swap the starport onto the reactor. Get some Vikings most likely. 2nd and 3rd barracks goes down. And we'll see Stim start up on the Tech Lab barracks as well. Always the opportunity for Seither to try and push that air advantage if he wants to keep building Vikings. Vikings are starting on RazerBlader's side of the map as well. So RazerBlader definitely going to try and match the skies. Often in this scenario, that first air battle skirmish to see who takes out the other one's Ravens and Vikings can decide a lot.
Certainly can. Scan there from RazerBlader to see exactly what he's up against. The moment it is a pretty normal bio follow-up, so at least he knows he's up against bio. So the same deal for RazerBlader. Double engineering bay back at home. Hasn't started his tech lab upgrades just yet on the bio, though. So starting his second and third barracks as well as he moves out here with this army. Raven count looks decent. Energy looks decent. That's, I mean, Seither does have a very similar sized army, but he's moving out. RazerBlader does have the benefit of tanks here in the army. Oh, they're kind of passing each other here.
Oh, yeah, this is going to get really awkward really quickly. Both players moving out at the exact same moment, and there is a tank at home for Seither, but not much else. And the scan goes down for Seither, seeing almost no units there. He's got to dive. He's got to realize what's happening. This is a crazy scenario. He lifts his command center. He's going to try and defend his main base while busting his opponent's main. RazerBlader is quickly going to siege on the high ground. I think auto turrets will easily take that out, though.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. And the tanks are sieging up here, so it looks like Seither is going to put in some firepower back on RazerBlader's side of the map. He's losing a ton of SCVs. Seither on his side also taking huge damage. His tanks being interference matrix defensively.
Yeah, the auto turrets go down and take that one out. Seither does have one more siege tank coming out, but it looks like he is going to be breached. Both sides losing control of their production. This is getting very dicey. Who can take out a lot of the other one's army before they do go down? This tank in the back of Seither's base is doing great. He's actually just shelled down a lot of RazerBlader's units. It definitely looks like Seither's going to hang on to his main command center. Meanwhile, that tank in RazerBlader's base just not going down. The auto turrets go down, but the SCVs actually clean it up.
They certainly do. And Seither still has an army in his main. He's about to lose that factory, which is about to pump out another tank here. Oh, this is getting very, very awkward for both players. Looks like RazerBlader still doing a fair bit of work here in the main base of Seither, though.
Seither's going to try to re-land his orbital, drop some mules down there.
Don't lose that Raven.
Oh! Next Marine that comes out might be able to get it, though. Seither's still mining his main. He could even drop mules on his third. He's got that tank up. He's building a couple more Marines. And, ooh, a Marine pops out for RazerBlader, still unable to finish those Ravens. 1 on 10, 1 on 40 hit points. Both sides are looking for any pickoffs they can get. It's only a 5 army supply advantage right now for Seither. Yeah, he's mining, but he doesn't really have any production. And oh my, here we go, an important fight. The interference matrix, though, shutting down his tank. His tank, though, gets off a shot. Can it get off a second? Indeed, it can. The Stim Marines come forward. Seither wins the fight, defends his main base.
Wow, with 7 workers remaining, though, not a huge economy. Speaking of which, let's see how many SCVs are left over for RazerBlader with this point pool. Not enough. Seither with enough guns to get the job done there on the main base of RazerBlader. That was a... Whew! That was a... Like, if you got a heart condition, that's a bad game one for you right there. That's an explosive way, literally, to start off this series.
Yeah. Oh, hashtag dicey. That was a really action-packed one. And this is what we expected. I was not thinking, hey, we're just going to sit down and play some chill games. And as much as I said, hey, I predict Seither to take the series, there is so much that's up in the air in TVT in terms of where you choose to take the matchup. I think RazerBlader was hoping for a little bit of a bigger response there from his opponent. The Marauders coming out. I think he was really looking to see if he could create some sort of reaction, you know, something to just kind of overwhelm his opponent and throw him off his game, but just wasn't quite able to bring all the pieces together. We saw that very good defense on the high ground, pulling back the units, not letting them get picked off, not letting that Marauder Hellion pressure spiral out of control.
Yeah, indeed. As we get into the highlights here, remember this is how the game started, with RazerBlader getting a 3 Marauder rush in with the Hellion. Doing some damage, no doubt, breaking the natural, killing a couple depots. Not bad, not bad. Killing some units here as well. But Seither did hold, and he held pretty well. You know, getting the orbital up, still back at home, having a natural to recover with. And, I mean, things look good. Then this counter drop from Seither got held pretty hard as well by RazerBlader. So it seemed to kind of edge towards evening out before the attack.
Yeah, definitely a nice attempt here for RazerBlader to go across with this push, but both sides not seeing each other. Seither scanning ahead of his push, felt like he was a little more mentally prepared for exactly what situation he was going into, since he realized, ooh, I know exactly what's happening. Had some time to organize himself at home, get the rally points to the high ground. And yeah, this could have gone awry. It was still very close, down to the wire, but he barely manages to get rid of that army, maintains his position in the main, and RazerBlader unable to push him out.
And there we go, the last few Marines stimming.
Momentum, and then just do a normal play with an earlier second barracks than normal, so I can go into bio a bit better. But like, it's such a light pressure that it's sometimes it looks kind of, is it the greatest? I don't know. Against this, it's perfect. You're building 2 Reapers by default. You're going to have, as long as you don't lose your first Reaper to a silly accident, I think it's an easy defense for RazerBlader.
Yeah, indeed. So this is actually what we used to see from Time, I remember. Like, this is how he used to open his TVTs, because not only because I feel like he was getting proxy Reapered a lot, but he would be on the Korean ladder a bunch, and this was in the peak Reaper proxy meta when Terrans were just proxying absolutely everything. So this is just the straight up shutdown here from RazerBlader, and Seither build order wise is in a ton of trouble, but of course there is execution.
Well, importantly, he scouts the second barracks. That's very important. And in fact, even a third barracks is going down in the back. That's something Seither does not know about. He does not scout the third barracks. Second gas goes down here for RazerBlader now. Seither's gone for a quick second gas. The moment RazerBlader's SCV left his base, he dropped that second gas. So it looks like he'll probably be going factory behind it. Right now, both players committing to non-stop Reaper production. And I mean, when you're both building exactly the same fighting unit on one base and you're not expanding, usually whoever wins the first fight is going to win the game. So unless it's a trade out, which often these fights go very one-sided one way or the other. But you know what? See, they're backing off. They're sending his Reapers home. And with the earlier factory, Hellions are amazing in Reaper Hellion battles. Their splash damage is huge.
Yeah, they make up for like having 1.5 less Reapers. I feel like the Hellions. It's just about that much. Not quite two Reapers worth of utility, but it's almost 2 Reapers worth of utility. Great to have with your own if you're behind in Reaper production, which he certainly is at the moment. See the breaking off one barracks there for a scout, leaving the other one to continue to produce, and I imagine just rally back home. RazerBlader continuing the 3 racks Reaper production. He's going to have a ton here. He's going to have it on 9 Reapers.
Command centers go down at almost identical time. You are right. There's going to be more Reapers there, but will it be enough? I mean, both barracks have now lifted off. There's nothing building except one Hellion at a time, and knowing this, RazerBlader could just continue to commit and really just go hard. Oh, he's going to get 1 Reaper on the way home. He actually intercepts a Reaper. Oh, Seither's in trouble right now. That's 5 versus 6 there, but 2 more rallying across the map and more even coming. Oh, the Hellion pops just in time, though. Oh, a lovely hold from Seither.
Yeah, that looked dicey there for a second, but as soon as the Hellion popped out, things started to switch over to Seither's favor. Now, this is cheeky. Putting the barracks right in the main base of his opponent, kind of forcing a reaction out of RazerBlader. Like, this is something that's just annoying. It's just right there. It's scouting everything. He could produce a Reaper out of it if he wanted to. So you kind of need to have a unit at home just in case. Just an annoying thing for Seither to do. Bit of a flex.
What? I'm just one of the boys. What? Just this is my home, sure. It's just hangs out for a little bit, lands. They're all looking at it funny. He's like, maybe I should leave. It's gonna slowly float out of that base. And there is, of course, a factory with the tech lab coming down for RazerBlader, while Seither feeling the threat of that Reaper advantage, cancelled his tech lab, started building more Hellions, and he's decided to make cloaked Ravens. Wait a second, that's a fake cloak. Sees the scan, starts the cloak up as well, of course, and is in fact just building Ravens.
Single file, these Reapers are going to be in a spot of bother here, Pig, right to the flame belch. Oh my god. That line of splash damage. Kills a few Reapers. Loses one of his own, but, you know, Seither trading well there. So RazerBlader does have a bigger army because he's heading towards Cyclone. He's got his 3 Marine production back at home. But these Reapers, they're not going to crack that main base. In fact, losing a few more there on the way out.
Well, there's still not many units building for Seither, and that's kind of what RazerBlader was going for here. He's like, hey, if your barracks are on the wrong side of the map, I might be able to just overwhelm you. And he is up 3 SCVs right now, so despite taking some, you know, pretty terrible head-to-head engagement trades, RazerBlader is in a good position. It's up a couple of workers, has the earlier Cyclone. The thing that he's behind on is the Raven production. So Seither's going to send 1 Raven across to harass, another Raven building at home, and is going for the quicker 3rd command center. So worker advantage to RazerBlader, but there's a lot of other things that are going for Seither because he's still scouting with the barracks as well. That's going to give him the comfort to come in here, auto turret harass on the natural, grab a few SCVs, bit of mining time maybe as well.
Yeah, 3 SCVs or 2 SCVs die there. A 3rd one gets damaged. There's that 3rd SCV just on the last shot there of the auto turret. So that is always worth. When you drop the energy and you get damage for it, that's a dream scenario for you in StarCraft. So really nice harassment there from Seither. The Raven is still alive. In fact, it's coming back home. respecting the fact that there could be a Viking at this point. And he's switching over for that reactor. So Seither, as he gets his second and third barrack started up, heading towards Bio Tank again, he's looking pretty solid here.
Indeed. 2 Ravens is always very nice to have. RazerBlader has skipped Raven production entirely this game. Is up on that 3 barracks, of course, so it kind of makes sense. When you're playing this Marine heavy, I really think getting your medevacs out as quickly as possible is great. If you can start multi-dropping the moment your opponent moves out to take a third base, you're going to have so much maneuverability. You can be super greedy behind it. You don't need to worry about them kind of, pushing across the map because they're just afraid of the fact that you've got all that maneuverability. Stim Marine's one of the most damaging units in the game, and it forces your opponent into their turtle shell, allows you to just kind of build expansions on location behind it, add all of your tech and your upgrades behind it. So really love the medevac production out of RazerBlader, while Seither tries to counter it with air control with his Vikings.
All right, well, we do have the 1-1 upgrade starting for both players here. I do like the Vikings from Seither. That's going to give you that edge in the tank warfare, which is generally what TVT will boil down to if you get to the mid game. Cyclone doing some minimal damage there, picks off one of the Reapers. I mean, anything's nice with the Cyclone as long as you're not losing it. A 98-ish block there for RazerBlader as he heads towards 101 supply. Let's see this attack coming on in. Is RazerBlader going to pounce these Ravens?
Yes, he is. The Raven's a bit slow to throw down those auto turrets. This is a great engagement for RazerBlader.
Yeah.
Smashes through all of that, and this is terrible for Seither. Remember, I was talking about the Marine advantage up against the Tank Viking. Well, the whole point of Tank Viking is you need to set up slowly and take careful engagements. Seither here, I think, felt a bit cocky after the way this early game went. Thought, oh yeah, I'm doing great. We'll be fine. I took some awesome fights. I can set up. Was not expecting that many Stim Marines to come out. His tanks were way too late to siege up. And, you know, you're using Ravens. You've got that renewability, that cost efficiency over time. You've got Vikings to shoot down all their medevacs. Anytime a fight just kind of stalls out, you win as the Viking Raven tank player. But now he's lost a lot of those units. He's got a turtle on 2 bases. RazerBlader has the third up, has a flood of Marine tank. He's got medevacs. And who knows, he might even be able to bust Seither on 2 base. At the very least, he's going to be able to contain him.
Yeah, certainly. Like, this is a very rough situation for Seither. He'd love to be taking his third right now, which is a luxury that RazerBlader has. But Seither, I mean, he needs to skewer his natural before he thinks about that. He's got the third CC, obviously, but it's floating back into the back of his natural awkwardly. It's just kind of flying on back there. It's back in the main now, excuse me. But yeah, so Seither actually missing the armory as well means 2-2 can't start very quickly. So he's going to be a little bit behind on that, but kind of similar deal for RazerBlader. Not really a focus on upgrades at the moment. Both players really just trying to get themselves in a good position, literally, with their army.
Indeed. RazerBlader is the one with the superior angle right now. Lots of biotank, about double the Marine count up in siege tanks, and of course 6 medevacs, an ever-present threat. Seither has already built missile turrets on the flanks of his base to try and at least, push back or damage any doom drops, hopefully scare them away from ever even committing in. Just going to squeeze some Liberators across the map for a little bit of harassment, but there's already sensor towers going up, Marine spotters. RazerBlader not missing a beat with his macro, far ahead on the 2-2 upgrades. And don't really expect these to do too much.
Yeah, there's not a ton of army supply here for Seither either versus that. There's really not a whole lot going for him. Missing 2-2 almost completely here is Seither. Like, still hasn't started it. Liberator does not do a whole lot. Seither cannot afford to throw too much away here. He's only behind a handful of workers, but if a fight goes badly, losing these Liberators for free certainly isn't going to do him any favors in this situation where he kind of needs to take a good fight in the next few minutes if he wants to take a lead or, you know, find a drop and do some damage to the economy more than this that he's done so far with these Liberators. At the moment, Seither just seems to be on full defense mode, just breaking off 1 or 2 units here and there to try and find anything on RazerBlader's side of the map.
Well, does cause a bit of disruption there with those Liberators. Buys himself a bit of time to move out and take the third base. So not a bad move. I like these little bits of pressure, even when they don't find big direct damage. Doing something to keep your opponent under the gun, at least a little bit, does make a difference. But that's a lot of Marines, and that's really what needs to be made up for in the next couple of fights. Seither needs to make sure his tanks are very impactful in these next engagements.
Tank advantage here for RazerBlader, and Seithers aren't quite in range. Both of them are quite just out of range. It looks like a Viking advantage for Seither. Still has a full energy Raven. So in that regard, you know, the maths gets a little fuzzy. Certainly looks like a lot more firepower for RazerBlader, but the Vikings and the Ravens sort of upset the battle a little bit. They make things a little bit harder to engage and to actually win the fight. Fourth CC for Seither starting in the natural, getting his second factory down by the looks of things. Extra barracks production about to start up as well, but quite a bit behind in upgrades. Oh man, RazerBlader right on the money there. Instantly starts +3 attack as +2 attack finishes.
Yeah, that's nice. Focus on those advantages. RazerBlader keeps posturing, and he's got a very mobile, scary army. He's not doing as much with it as I would like. I do wish he was doing some drops, splitting in and diving over the missile turrets a little bit, but whoa! Comes in with a huge arc of Marines. Anti-armor missile goes down. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though. Seither is so outnumbered. That is a huge wall of Marines.
Yeah, way too many units here from RazerBlader. I mean, Seither might be able to hold on to the natural, but I feel like if RazerBlader really wants to, he can take either the natural or the third away from him. Not too many Marines left, and he's going to be slow and steady here with the tanks, but he truly took an amazing fight here, for sure. Seither on the back ropes, loses the advantage of the Vikings and the Raven, and it really feels like the anti-armor missile is like very hard. It feels like it should make more of a difference than it does, but it's like unless you have a similar Marine count, it really doesn't.
Yeah, well, he was so outnumbered, and we see these numbers once again working that magic. RazerBlader pushes on through, forces the SCVs off the line. Seither desperately trying to scramble. He just does not have the numbers. The tanks maintain position between both bases. More units stimming in, taking out the last tank on the third base. And Seither there taken out in map number 2.
All right. So see the strategies here for both players. At the moment, it looks like everything's at home. Barracks is in the wall in. How quaint.
Yeah. So, I'm confused, Maynard.
Yeah, what is this?
What?
I mean, at least there's a double gas opening, so we're at least going to have a quicker factory.
Some Reaper Hellion openings, no doubt. And, yeah, going to be just some safe openings. Wouldn't be surprised to just be seeing 2 on each gas. That being said, I mean, Kua especially, I think of as one of the top Terrans who every best of 3, at least one game is like, no, it's a double gas, 3 on each gas, quick starport. There's always some wild aggression coming out of that guy, and he's a big trendsetter in the matchup. He's taken down some of the beasts before, so I've always got my eyes on these openings going, okay, who's just getting a bit of Reaper Hellion out, and who's doubling down and going super hard on the tech.
Well, we see the factory going down first here for RazerBlader. See this Reaper coming out here. It's like he's just got enough gas now for that factory as it goes down. So it's just a few seconds difference on both sides, but still a very similar build. RazerBlader getting that depot nice and early as well, which means that SCV is going to be stopped and stuck in and will die, will not take anyone with it. Does not go down with the SCV. And it's about when you want to get your second depot as well, if you're just playing the 2 gas opener here. You know, you're not going to expand for a bit, so you do need that depot nice and quick.
And the pull-off gas, of course, did happen for RazerBlader, who is going to be heading for a command center in the next 10 or 15 seconds. Seither was a little slower to pull off gas, but looks like he's going to be doing the same thing. So for all intensive purposes, this is a mirrored build order. Reaper's going to go in and scout on either side. Seither sees the barracks factory, runs away. RazerBlader, exact same moves. Wow, talk about a mirror match.
Yeah, indeed. It's a mirror match with mirrored builds for the most part here. You see a slight change as the extra Hellions do start up for both players, but the reactor starts first there for Seither. RazerBlader with a similar opener, though. It's just like seconds difference on here and there in the build for both players, but otherwise it is quite similar. Looks like maybe RazerBlader squeezing out one more Reaper.
Yeah, 3 Reaper, 2 Hellion, which means usually you do go across the map with that. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Reactors on the way. Widowmine coming out next for Seither, so he doesn't want to go straight into a tech lab for, say, a Cyclone or a very, very quick Raven. Gonna add a Widowmine just for a little bit of safety, and if your Reaper Hellion jumps into that, they will get bumped. So a nice little addition to the defense, and I think it'll burrow just in time.
Yeah, no doubt. So tech lab going down here for Seither on the factory. Widowmine on the edge of the main base there, just in case the Reapers try and get fresh, try and jump on in. They're going to be met with a splash damagey demise.
Oh, and they're going to go for it. At least one Reaper will go down.
Yeah, and that's what you want there, Seither. Good work with that Widowmine. Widowmine does have a little bit of utility in TVT. Other than that, you do want to rely on your light units here, your Reapers and your Hellions and your Marines. Good scuffle there. Seither getting some pickoffs.
Good micro by Seither, keeping those 2 Reapers alive. Yeah, those are going to all heal up. It's going to pick up 2 Reapers, 4 Marines, and a Widowmine go across with a nice little drop. I love the flexibility of an early drop in TVT. Annoying for your opponent to deal with. Yes, if the Cyclone's in position, it can just shut it down. But if that Cyclone's not quite in the right spot, you can get a lot of damage. Doesn't cost you very much behind the Cyclones, Ravens, third gas, all on the way. So Seither's going to go for a very standard direction, just doing it after a slight delay. Now, RazerBlader does always open up 2 Cyclones. Seems like he prefers the double Cyclone opening. So a little bit slower on getting up into the siege tanks, but very nice flexibility in the defense.
And these bio units do get into that mineral line, so they're going to take some SCVs with them. This is going to cost Seither everything, though. The medevac and the units go down. So it certainly wasn't for free, but 7 SCVs is pretty substantial, finding himself at a 10-worker lead here against his opponent with the same amount of bases. So a good economic lead for Seither, and looks like he got one more there, with the Hellion just rolling into the natural.
Yeah, third command center goes down behind us. Is a Raven advantage right now for RazerBlader as a couple of Hellions and Cyclones go on out across this map. Marines left at home to defend. Economic advantage is there for Seither in quite a large way. RazerBlader, though, with the double Cyclone, a few more tools to see if he can make something work, but as long as Seither stays up that ramp, he's completely safe. Yep,
just going to have a little bit of patience here. If RazerBlader wants to throw himself upon his spear, then that's completely fine. Both players are about to deal with SC2 blocks as the SC2 depots come in. Third CC a lot faster here for Seither. RazerBlader is just on the 2 still, focusing on 2 base production. So in a few minutes, Seither will have a big econ bump. RazerBlader still focusing on just making SCVs on 2 bases and getting a good round of units up. So maybe RazerBlader going to try and push soon.
He's quite behind, isn't he, RazerBlader, in terms of that economy? And he's not missing a beat with his unit production, but that economic damage means, hey, if you don't cut a siege tank or a few Vikings or something like that, well, you just never have room for that third command center to come down. And this, to me, just says, hey, the first engagement is so important. Seither, you really want to actually, I would love to see him scan, because if he scans and realizes there's no third command center, I mean, he's just got to defend and survive and make sure the next few minutes go well for him defensively, because over time, his production is going to kick in way faster. I mean, RazerBlader still has not started a third command center or a second and third barracks. It's just hitting tank Viking production. I think RazerBlader is going to need to win the first fight. If he doesn't do that, he's just so far behind. It's really going to be a matter of, okay, let's see if Seither moves out, gather up your units. Now, Seither does a scan. That looks like a very empty red base.
Does indeed. There's some Marines hiding themselves, though. A couple of Vikings waiting by the starport, about to become 4 Vikings. So he knows there's an army out in the map. And he is feeling like, oh, well, maybe I can cut the head off the snake here. Pulling some SCVs forward. Looks like it's just for the third base, though. No stim yet, so he can't pounce, but does get a couple units.
You know what? I think Seither's Marine seeing this coming was very important. He's building a sensor tower. He wants to take this third. I don't think he realizes just how many units there are. A tank goes out into the open. Seither, he's got to be careful here.
The tank sieged up. He actually gets that tank sieged up, and it's safe for now. And strangely enough, actually got a shot off there. So he's very lucky that third tank is still alive, or rather the fourth tank is still alive here, pulling back to try and reposition it. But he knows he's under attack now. Seither repositioning his forces.
Oh, those tanks under assault. Right now, the Viking advantage is 5-4 in the favor of RazerBlader. This is still something he's paying so much respect to Seither in these engagements. Oh, there we go. He's going to go forward. He knows he has that Viking advantage. He's trying to break down these rocks every second that goes by. Remember, Seither is up on 3 barracks, soon to be 5 barracks production. RazerBlader still is only on 1. He's trying to add production, but he is so far behind right now. And he lacks the urgency that he needs. He's got a Liberator. He clearly wants to make this push work, but he's got to get a move on.
He also rallied a few SCVs to this side of the map as well, accidentally, but that's neither here nor there. It's all about this fight coming up here for RazerBlader. Trying to find an angle. Seither still meeting him every time he moves, though, scanning and seeing the army move around.
Great awareness here by Seither. Drop those scans. You know you're way ahead here. Just be safe. Oh, Interference Matrix has come on down. He's going to try and siege forward, but a few big tank volleys there. Seither covering those units on the ground. And Interference Matrix does take out one of the Vikings, but still the air superiority is there for RazerBlader.
It is a bit of a weird fight, though. You know, both sides did lose quite a bit. RazerBlader, there's a lot more onus on him to make something happen here because Seither's economy is so much bigger. It's 71 workers to 48 pig. RazerBlader looks like he cut SCVs for quite a while.
I mean, this, like we said, this was a hugely committed push. This is actually kind of crazy that he's in this situation. I feel like he's got to get so much more done, but he's really not finding anything. And oh, a few big tank volleys. His Marines are basically a non-issue at this point. They're all so bruised. And he answers with a few tank shots of his own. He's still winning that Sky War. But his Liberator, he really desperately needs to do something. And now suddenly he's lost the air control. He sieges up. He'll get a few shots off. But he's going to lose that Liberator in the process.
His two Ravens coming forward, they definitely would have been handy a little while ago. Going to drop those auto turrets, but it feels like a bit of an afterthought. Maybe a shift queue there from RazerBlader. They don't do anything there. The tanks take out the auto turrets. The Ravens bullied back by that single Viking. And Seither holds, and as the dust settles on that engagement pig, oh man, Seither is worlds ahead. A much bigger army supply. I mean, it was pretty equal in that regard behind, like before, when RazerBlader was attacking. But now, what is the advantage for RazerBlader? Look how delayed his upgrades are. Look how delayed his economy is. His third just got saturated. This does not look good at all for our Pakistani Terran on the top right.
Yeah, way behind. It's going to be a slow comeback draw that is needed. 6 tanks are out for RazerBlader, equal in the tank count, and he's going to need to use those tanks so well. It's got to be just about defensive positioning, sieging at the right time, using choke points, and stopping your opponent from dropping you to death. But Seither's already going up to 4 bases. More than 2 upgrades ahead. Second factory finishing up. This is the dream for Seither. It's just a very smooth opening and play. I think that drop early on killed, what was it, 7, 8 SCVs? Seems like it was well worth it. Ever since then, RazerBlader has been way behind, focusing on non-stop unit production, but it just feels like he kind of was committed, but was dilly-dallying, you know? It was like, okay, I'm going for a push. I'm not really getting my third up. I'm not powering in any way to recover economically, but he didn't put any real counter damage on Seither. Because of that, Seither's been able to just kind of build up gradually, and what was a small drop early in the game has just slowly grown into a massive problem for RazerBlader.
Now, if Seither stacks up these medevacs into a single file, I actually think he can skirt the sensor tower here of RazerBlader. It's going to be tough, but I think he might be able to avoid it a little bit. The Marines were looking for something over there because the Cyclone did clear up that part of the map, and he's hugging the side of that map. Seither's going to go for the main base here of RazerBlader while pushing on the left side.
Yeah, RazerBlader has no idea. I'm actually watching from his camera.
Yep,
and only sees them now. Oh, massive doom drop. He only glances at it as the units unload, and that is a disaster for RazerBlader.
Yeah, he goes for the full interference matrices on all 4 of the tanks. His Marines need to close that distance before the spell runs out, though. The body line there of Marines for Seither giving him some time. The tanks will become ready to fire again. And now there's a bit of a choke point here for the RazerBlader Marines, so they are dying in single file. Not enough, actually, for RazerBlader to clean up the tanks.
Yeah, and the Marine tank comes down on the front as well for Seither. Not the cleanest attack on the front, but a brutal attack inside the main base. Only now going to be cleaned up. Remember that Seither is on 4 bases. His 5th command center is almost finished behind this. RazerBlader is on 3 bases, and he's not even able to mine from one of those. This is a non-stop onslaught. Seither just carrying his macro through, and it's been a straightforward push. Just saying, you know what? I'm too far ahead from early on. Look at that Marine drop to take the tank shots. Nicely done.
Indeed, and Seither, I feel like, has too much here to fail. There's a couple tanks firing back, getting some nice splash damage in, but Seither, as he breaks that line on the right, will have nothing but an orbital and some SCVs to stop him. 1 tank on the left, but that is nowhere near enough. Seither
to mix in the aggression, as we saw in game number 2. So far, though, it's the defensive play that's done well for him. Will he continue that pattern? In the bottom right, in the blue, it is Mind Freak Seither.
And the top left here in the red, currently against the ropes, but would love to push back and get himself a tied-up series. From Red Dragons, it is RazerBlader.
Double gas opening there for Seither up against the double barracks from RazerBlader. So, going to be a similar opening to the previous game for Seither, while on the other hand, it is that second barracks for RazerBlader. So the 2 barracks Reaper, we pointed out, even against this sort of opening, you can still get in there and kind of delay their command center with your first 3 Reapers. Your first 5 Reapers can still be quite deadly. And no matter what, there's a high chance that you transition into a bit more of a bio-heavy play. So remember, many minutes down the line, what was it that actually got Seither killed last time he played against this sort of build? Well, it was him trying to do a sort of tank Raven Viking push, getting caught out by a whole bunch of Stim Marines jumping on top of him. And definitely something to keep our eyes open for if this gets past the early stage. But right now, it's all just about survival and kind of gauging out what your opponent's up to. Seither tries to go in, his SCV bugs out, and he goes, oh, you've walled off, have you? Okay, let's check what's on top of that ramp. But by doing so, Seither's SCV has stayed in the danger zone for far too long. RazerBlader is going to get a nice early SCV kill for it.
Yeah, certainly should here as he guns that thing down. Not a whole lot that Seither can do about that, unfortunately. Now, the 2 Reaper opener, it has like a window where it's going to be a huge threat to you, but once I feel like you get 1 or 2 Hellions out as Seither, certainly when you have 2 Hellions out, it starts to really fall off. And you delay your factory by a fair bit here as RazerBlader. You can see he's just started mining gas now.
Ooh,
or
good
rather,
information.
just started banking gas here for the factory, I should say, rather than mining gas.
Yes, yeah, just started to bank a little bit of extra and started the second gas, but command center was, it went down, but it wasn't scouted. Seither came in, he's like, let's check. I think it'll probably just be a 2C, like a command center, but doesn't actually know exactly that just yet. Doesn't have the confirm, is going to be going for a Hellion after his 2 Reapers into a reactor. And you know what? Reaper 4 and 5 are coming out. RazerBlader, I wonder, is he going to start Reaper number 6? Surely not, no. He's going to swap into reactors behind that, but it is going to be a 5 to 6 Reaper pressure. They're going to find a moment here where Seither does not have a lot of units.
True that, true that. When the reactor finishes CSC, they're almost certainly going to go straight into Marines. He's going to have that Widow Mine out just like he did earlier, so that's going to give him covered a little bit in the main base if there are multiple Reapers out. Looks like he's actually putting all of his eggs into the Natural here, just sort of saying, oh, okay, you know, I don't think that there's going to be that many Reapers. He obviously did not scout that second barracks, so it's a little in the dark here. I do like the hidden Widow Mine, though. I'm a big fan of this player.
There's a 3rd command center behind this. RazerBlader does not need to do big damage. He scans, though. He realizes that's not a good angle to go in. Jumps up to the high ground. Now he can really use those grenades, those Reapers nicely spread out to minimize the Hellion splash damage. 1 Reaper does fall, but so does the Hellion. A few grenades going down. RazerBlader not able to pull back any of his low hit point Reapers. If he just did 1 or 2 pullbacks on the low hit point ones, could have made a big difference here. As it is, ooh, that red hit point Reaper barely surviving. A nice trade here for RazerBlader. Remember, he's got that 3rd CC. Finishing behind this is sick macro. As long as he keeps Seither back, he's going to be able to explode into just a mass of bio, and that's kind of exactly what he's looking for. I'm really curious to see how can Seither counter this. Right now, he's still struggling just to defend the Reapers.
Loses another SCV there in the Natural. KD8 grenade also securing the exit there of that second Reaper. So RazerBlader down to 1 now, and he's switching over to Stinners. Like Pig mentioned, the biggest deal is that he does have a 3rd CC. It's about to become an orbital as his Natural's becoming an orbital. So this is a lovely economic lead that RazerBlader is gearing up for himself soon. It's not quite there yet, but it will be in a minute or 2. Now, Seither does have a Banshee, which could try and even things out. He's going a Cloakless Banshee here, of course, which is the easiest Banshee to kill. Doesn't have the benefit of Cloak, doesn't have that ability. You save the money there as Seither, but of course you're not putting as many resources into a unit that's not as good. So if there are any Vikings out, if there's a Cyclone out, easy to push that Banshee back.
Well, funnily enough, there won't be either of those. There's only going to be Marines, but they'll have Stim. So Stim's going to be done around the time it arrives, and there is a Tech Lab factory. RazerBlader can add things on behind it. Right now, the army is better for Seither, but he's way behind on the income. And like we said, if RazerBlader can get by a few more minutes, building this Bioforce, adding a few more barracks, you'll get way ahead in that army. These Marines coming south, they don't want to use Stim. Well, actually, they don't have the option to use Stim.
And not just yet. 5 more seconds.
And then,
yeah, that was actually a nice little counter poke there from Seither. He got himself 3 SCVs, just trying to sort of mitigate the deficit of economy that he's in right now. He's like, oh, okay, need a little bit of an edge here. Certainly got that with 3 SCVs, but not as much as he would have liked. Still behind quite a bit. 5 SCV deficit for Seither.
RazerBlader is a bit blind though right now, right? He doesn't know about this push coming. That's a lot of tanks, a lot of Marines. There's even SCVs coming with this. RazerBlader, I mean, he's got a tank out. As long as he keeps up Marine production, he maybe could defend, especially if he, say, pulls some SCVs. An early Stim here and a scan. He's going to have to pull back. I think keep using those scans is the important thing. Oh my god, he picks up and leaves. RazerBlader, you madman.
I mean, that's leaving the natural open. So he's basically saying, all right, Seither, come into my natural, but this counter drop is absolutely going to hurt Seither so badly. It may win him the game. And time will tell as Seither comes on in. That tank on the high ground from RazerBlader gets some shots off the one of the natural. Also gets a shot off or two. Landed Vikings to try and break that position. RazerBlader's drop about to drop in a few seconds.
Oh, yeah, he's just going straight into the natural, but his own natural has already been breached. The tanks are sieging up there. He's going to try to get on the high ground. There's already a tank, a lib, and a Viking there. Seither realized exactly what RazerBlader was going for. He knew RazerBlader was playing a risky style. He managed to push across the perfect moment before the Marines could finish combat shields, before their count could grow. And it's just taken a lovely engagement here. The third command center, it needed another minute or so for it to really kick off. RazerBlader definitely struggling in this situation. It feels like, yeah, he's pushed back Seither to one base, but is that enough?
He's going to try and drop the main here. The two tanks are out of range. Vikings a little out of position, so maybe RazerBlader finds an annoying position where he kills some SCVs, but he's got a lot of work to do on Seither's economy. The Vikings got to make sure that these Marines check in, but they don't check out of the main as the medevacs go they go to Valhalla, where they will slumber and feed.
Yep, Valhalla Town, definitely where they do go when they get shot down, of course, by the Vikings. And these Marines running to the left-hand side of the base. Gonna try and be as annoying as they can.
5 kill with a mine, not bad.
What kind of a monster puts a minefield in their own workplace? What the heck? Oh, Seither there catching him off and does end up, taking out that command center. That's it. There's nothing left. RazerBlader unable to fight back there. A cool